Hello, Angie, and
Hi,
welcome.
Deborah.
Thank you so much for
Thank
being
you for
here with
inviting
me.
me. It's lovely to be here. I'm honored. Thank you.
So do tell me what it is that you do.
Okay, so I call myself a mind chatter coach, and essentially that's mindfulness, meditation, and holistic mind body healing and well being. So it started off after I was working in local government. I moved to the well-being industry, started teaching Zumba classes, fitness classes, yoga, Pilates, and obviously that yoga is that pivotal moment, isn't it, where you have that awakening where people follow a spiritual path, and that's kind of what happened with me, except I had already experienced meditation earlier on. So all it did was just reset me back into the meditation space. So it's an interest I already had prior to the well-being work I did, but it consolidated it. It, reinforced it in my own mind that it's an amazing pathway for anybody to follow for restoration and transformation, and
Mm.
teach others the same.
I got to know you through the video that you put
The
up
video
on
I did,
LinkedIn.
right. Thank you for
Yes,
that. Thanks so much.
and you told your story on
Oh,
there,
yeah,
and I
yeah.
was like, oh, I love this. I
Yeah.
love this.
Oh,
I really want to invite Angie onto my video podcast.
right. Okay,
I
thank
just
you for that.
I loved your story so much. So I got the impression that that you transferred from your job to doing the Zumba classes quite a long time ago now.
Well, it's been about 10 years since I've been teaching Zumba classes. It's been about 5 years since I made that brave decision to walk out of the door and say bye. That's like the side gig has become a full-time thing, and that's the love of my life now. So goodbye. So that, yeah, that happened 5 years ago. So I've been coaching on and off since then. I've tried to, get it to like a full-blown business. I have, I mean, touch wood, thank God, I have replaced my old salary, but it's not taken off at a level that I thought it would. It's more difficult
Hmm.
than you think,
But
but it's
just to
been good.
replace your old
Yeah.
salary, that's pretty
Well,
amazing.
thank you. Yeah, I was gonna say because I'm super proud of that, but
Hmm.
it's it's a lot of work. But I'm
Well,
glad
of
I
course.
didn't know because it's been worth it, and I haven't looked back.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So tell me a little bit more about what you mean by mind chatter.
Okay. Right, right. Very good question. Thank you for asking. So there's three ways that I define mind chatter. Number one, it's that automated noise that just goes on and on. It plays in your mind. Oh, I've got to do this. I've got to do the laundry. What are we having for dinner? I need to go shopping. Oh, I've not sent the birthday card. That. So it's incessant noise that's not productive, but it's not particularly harmful. It's just there. But then there's a deeper level that does cause some damage, and that is the self sabotaging
Mm.
voice, which is internalized, where it's like, don't, I can't be doing that, or, I'm really worried about this thing that's coming up, or, you're just watching TV and then all of a sudden a flashback comes into your mind that, oh no, I can't believe the time I did that, something quite cringeworthy or something uncomfortable. So that is now negative mind chatter territory. It's what I call negative narrative. I'm sure there's terminology official out there, but I call it negative narrative.
Yeah.
And then the third level is not really chatter. It's more like it is like chatter, but it's constantly something is going on energetically or emotionally or psychologically that you can't put your finger on it. But it's like a spring that pulls you back, and it's just a feeling that don't do it, you can't do it, you're not capable, it's not going to work out, don't bother, or I'm too tired, or what's the point. It's this sort of feeling and heaviness that you carry. So that's what I call mind chatter. All three things I would constitute as mind chatter.
Mm. And tell me a little bit about how you see the techniques that you teach people, how that works in terms of
Yeah,
quietening the mind chatter down.
again, a brilliant question. Yeah, so the techniques that I use specifically are varied and person centered. So that's the first thing. So to ask, lots of people ask me this, what's the best technique? There isn't a best one.
Yeah.
Depends. It depends. But what I do is obviously to bring them into a state of relaxation. So it could be a number of tools that allow them to get to that space. it would be understanding, which I'm just going to go into in a bit more detail now,
Mm.
but also it's making them comfortable and giving them a space of soothing and trust in this process, which is unbelievably a massive barrier when people try to stop the mind chatter. And the other thing is, you can't try to stop it. Obviously, I think that's quite obvious. You can't say, Deborah, stop the mind chatter, shush. It's like using lots of ways where you get them there, So that's a bit about the techniques that I use. Yeah.
So sorry, you were going to follow on with something else.
About knowledge, yeah. So it was just to pick up on that. What you said is, what is the most like, how do your techniques stop the mind chatter? If it is incessant and they feel like they can't stop it or they have no control over it, it's becoming unmanageable, almost always it's not a technique problem. It's almost always a knowledge issue, a gap in their knowledge, their understanding of how it works, why it works, trust, and self-acceptance. So whenever I'm working with a client or you're working with a client, somewhere along that line, you're gonna come to that point where that's actually what it was. Because the confrontation in the mind is very disturbing for most people, especially with a traumatized past.
Mm. And could you say a little bit about how you specifically got into this? Because most of us, we've had some past experience ourselves and did you wake up one day and thought, oh my goodness, my mind is doing my head in?
Right. Again, very good question. I love it. I just love what you asked me. So I'm going to answer this in two ways. So the first is, how did I get into meditation? What made me think I need to stop the mind chatter? That, funnily enough, question never entered my mind. And the reason it never entered my mind is I just thought it's just the way I was. It's just the way everybody is, or there's something wrong with me. And it's the way that I am. And it was a coping mechanism where that behavior was just standard for me. So I didn't even know it was a behavioral issue. I just thought I'm a distracted person with attention deficiency. So it was so bad that question wasn't even asked, which is why coaching is so important. But so that's the first thing. The question I did ask though myself was, one day in working in local government, I needed confidence for an important legal case I was working on. It was part of the examination or something I was doing. I can't remember details, but that's why I wanted it, for confidence. And I went into a bookstore and I came across a CD, and that's one of the stories. I don't know if you watched the video, but I speak about that. I came across a meditation CD and I thought, all right, let's try it. Let's try it. But I was scared of using it. I was scared because I thought psychologically it might disturb me or something. Now, the first time I used that meditation CD, I went in so deep for the first time that I did have a very disorientating experience, which lasted for hours afterwards. Luckily, I stuck with it because it obviously dividends paid off, and eventually I found my way with it. And that really did start to change my life. Number one, I passed that exam or that case I was working on. Then I started to feel a lot happier within myself, and I started using it more regularly. So yeah, so that's how I got into meditation. That question I asked was, how can I become and feel more confident? So that's the
Brilliant,
first way
brilliant.
to do it.
And have you any sense of how meditation stops that mind chatter?
Right, yeah. So a lot of people use the mindfulness-based stress reduction technique, which has been popularized by John Kabat-Zinn. And what that does is awareness, groundedness, and presence. And what's happening here when you are very mindfulness, like for now, as we're speaking, no doubt, you'll be asking about the question next, you'll be processing what I've just said, and you're trying to listen to me. Now, that's a lot of cognitive, facilitation that is going on there, and I appreciate that. But to be totally present is literally just listen to me, the words, how I'm saying it, maybe pay attention to where you are now, just be in the moment and let it flow. So that's what mindfulness is. And the reason that reduces stress and the mind chatter is because you're anchoring yourself into the moment where you are reminded this is your life now. this is it. These surroundings are the most important thing you can focus on right now, because this is what's affecting your current present reality. Not only your life, as in where you live or what you do for a living, but also your health, how you feel inside. So emotionally, you are regulated. Everything in this moment, everything is all right. You're not in any danger.
Mm,
Nobody's picking on you. You're
mm,
not in school anymore, where this unruly child is like, they've got behavioral issues. A teacher is picking on you. You've got family problems. None of that matters right now. So that's what that does. It anchors you into the present moment, reminds you that is gone. You're in a different life. And what people do with incessant mind chatter is they forget that. They forget the power of what they have in this moment. And they believe that's happened to me. Oh dear, let's be sad about it because that happened to me so many times. And living in that space, you're not getting anything out of this moment now. And you're just reliving that over and over again. And it's a shame because it's harming you internally for health as well.
mm, mm. And do you see that because that you were describing mindfulness there about being really in the present,
Right, got you.
and
Yeah,
that
yeah,
in this present, none of that is happening. You're just
yeah.
here now.
You just
How
hear.
do you see meditation sitting alongside that in terms of helping?
Oh, Deborah, what a question.
Well, I've been meditating for over 30
My
years. So.
word. Thank you so much. Because a lot of people equate it to the same thing, there's the overlap, and it's generic, and that's it, right? So, mindfulness is obviously presence, awareness, acceptance of the now. There is a link with it being heart centered, and it's compassion based. So, there is the element of that for people that follow the practice very well. Meditation, however, is deeper because it's transcendental in nature. So, with mindfulness, we're speaking about the now. With meditation, we're also speaking about the possibilities of what could come. So, you have to be comfortable with the now to explore all that, because otherwise, trying to do it prematurely, at best, it's not going to work, but at worst, it could cause more anxiety. Yeah, yeah. So, it explores the new avenues where life could take you, because you can do a lot with your imagination, visualization, the healing energy, the energetic space, connecting with spirit guides, archetypes. There's so much, right? And also where we can not relive the past, but certainly you can shed grown up light on it, grown up, a higher 360-degree perspective light
Mm,
from a place of so much wisdom, so much awareness now, and so much realization and actualization that you look at anything, it was meant to be, it was good for me. Like that. Whereas from someone who's just doing mindfulness, almost always it's like trying to be present because that's bothering you a lot. But with meditation, the idea is that the actualization comes to such a deep and transformational level that you can look at life in a different perspective, and
mm.
that's what meditation does. So it's a lot deeper, it's potentially longer. There's maybe use of sound vibrations, sound healing, mantra meditation techniques. There's all these different energies that you can combine with that daily practice to turn it into something really phenomenal.
Awesome. And you mentioned the word transcendental.
Yeah, yeah.
Would you like to say a bit more about that? Because I think that's a word that a lot of people have heard of, but wouldn't
Yeah.
really know what it means.
Okay, yeah, yeah. So transcendental meditation has been popularized by a guru called Maharishi, which many people follow that specific type of transcendental meditation, which is essentially a 20-minute assigned to a specific person mantra, and it's specific to a different person. That's how most people who follow TM, they call it for short, transcendental meditation. And the idea is you become mindful, you become present, and you have this lovely, uplifting, floaty sensation experience. So what it tries to do is fast track that process. Self actualization. You find this lovely space, and that's it. So it's simple, it's easy to follow, and you get to that space of energetic realms and upliftment and soul, spirit, psyche, that kind of thing. So that's what it means to transcend is to transcend your physical 3D reality space right now into something beyond what you can see, feel, hear, taste, touch, beyond the senses that you are daily
Brilliant.
connected with. That's what transcendental is. Yeah.
Fabulous. And do you think because obviously there's, as you said, there's so many different meditation techniques.
Yeah.
Do you think they all offer that? Because I started with TM myself.
All
Um,
right.
yeah,
I
a long
didn't
time
know
ago.
that. Wow.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't practice that one now.
I hope I did justice in the explanation then.
Absolutely.
Too
I
much.
mean, I haven't practiced it for
You
35 years.
haven't.
So
All right. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
do something else now. But do you feel that all meditation? I mean, when I teach people, when I say to people, because I'm an astrologer,
All right.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I can see in people's charts often you'd really benefit from meditating.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
say to them, do you meditate? And they go, no. And I say, okay, well, look, the simplest thing you can do
Yeah.
is 20 minutes just following your breath in and out of your nose.
Yeah.
Yeah, just it's the focus, isn't it?
Yes.
That's important.
Yes, it is.
And
Yeah.
and as soon as your mind wanders off into that chatter,
Yeah.
bringing it back, isn't it? Bringing it back.
Absolutely.
That
Absolutely.
I
Yeah.
was taught that is the meditation,
Yeah.
the bringing it back.
Yeah.
It's not how long you can
No.
stay in that transcendental state for, because nobody can. I read somewhere once that the Dalai Lama can't even hold it for more than 2.5 breaths.
Yeah.
So it's the bringing it back, isn't it? It's having the control of the mind.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah.
So do you think that any meditation technique offers that?
First of all, I think TM is one of the best for doing that alone, which is the control of the mind chatter, bringing yourself back, which is phenomenal for the well-being. Yeah, absolutely. Not all meditations do that. Sometimes they can be too intense. We have problems sometimes with, say, guided imagery and visualizations because people have to be prepared for the ride, so to speak. They have to be removed and detached enough from their anxiety for the trip that they're going to take, and some people simply cannot relax to get into it. Some people really cannot visualize, and this is the thing, synesthesia is a thing, you know, they don't have that ability. So some of the things are really effective for some people because you do amazing things with a visualization, as we know, but for the people that can't get into it, it is a problem and it's a barrier. So yes, things like TM, to keep it simple and at least control and have that mind management in itself is excellent. But not all meditations will do that. And lots of meditations will bring other benefits that maybe TM don't touch on, and that's okay, because for the purpose it serves, it is phenomenal.
Yeah,
and I
yeah,
have
yeah.
lots of respect for the guy that brought it over. Yeah.
Yes. In fact, for me personally, I see guided visualizations as something quite different to a meditation.
Very different. Yeah.
Yes.
Quite.
You know, a lot of people say to me, if I say, do you meditate? Oh, yes, I use a guided visualization CD.
Right.
And I'm like, not quite the same thing.
Exactly.
Or they say, oh, I do walking meditations, or I'm meditating when I'm gardening. And for me, that isn't the same thing either.
No. And they all have their place, and they're all amazing, and they all bring a spectrum of benefits that is going to be, especially with a routine and consistency, amazing benefits. We get that, but it's not the same. No, it isn't the same at all. Because what TM does is the control and the mind management that the other things do not. One, you are dependent on someone else's instruction, so you never really cultivate the art of doing it yourself. Which it's all right, it's something, you know. But when you're in a crisis point, you need to draw upon that. You need to draw upon your own strength and that cognitive ability to mind manage, so you can literally bring yourself back when you need it the most.
Yes. And I think, you know, through my experience, it's not like we can stay in the present moment for any length of time. It's actually the only way I can do that is if I'm actually involved in some sort of creative process.
Right.
Where you know, I love to sew, and I can just get involved in that, and my mind is not thinking about something else.
Right. Yeah, quite.
I call it getting into that state of flow or being in that creative zone. And that is very much one of the things that I work with people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Give yourself some space to do something creative that you love to do.
Yeah. Yeah.
You don't have to think about.
100%. I agree with that. I agree with that. So when like I say about stopping the mind chatter, it's literally about those things I spoke about before: the negative self-talk, the self-sabotage, the pointless behavior, that you're not using your mind in a constructive way. That's what I mean. But to stop all thought altogether, no. Number one, it's not possible for a long time anyway, and it doesn't matter. But when you're injecting that, like you say, into a creative practice, not only is it lovely and therapeutic, it's sorry, not only is it amazing and fun, it's very therapeutic, and you are
Mm.
releasing a lot of
Yeah, the NHS say that it's more beneficial than pharmaceuticals for
yeah,
treating depression.
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
So I'm loving where this is going. One of the things that I notice from people, because there's but I self-sabotage. And I'm like, do you think you're unique? I don't know anybody who doesn't self-sabotage.
Right.
We all do it, don't we?
Yeah, we all do it. So it's a matter of minimizing it so it's not so unmanageable that it's causing you, a situation where it is a life and death situation for a start, or something so deeply damaging and hurtful to you. But if it's an everyday thing, like, oh, I should have got up an hour early, I forgot, like, it's okay. But if it's, if you are obviously down a path that is particularly damaging, then yeah, but self-sabotage, you're right, everyone does it to some degree, because it's important to have that a little bit as well. You have to have some, we call it ego as well, like good ego, is a good thing. And it's the same with that. Good sort of caution is a good thing.
I think that's a really good point, because the way I see it is that it's like our monkey brain, isn't it? It's our amygdala.
Yeah.
And it's trying to keep us safe.
It is. Yeah. And that's not a bad thing. How can that be bad? That's good. In fact, we need it to be.
I mean, you'd be really worried about a child who grew up without one.
Right. Yeah.
But I did read, have you heard of Bruce Lipton?
Yes. Biology belief.
Yes. I was reading an interview with him the other day, and he was saying how it's during those first 7 years when our brain is in what they call a theta state. So it's just absorbing. Our brain does not know the difference between our imagination and the real world.
No.
And so we're born with a clear mind, and then basically we're imprinted, aren't we? We're just told this, told that, told this. We see stuff. And he said that 70% of what is downloaded, they call it downloads, is negative, limiting, and self-sabotaging. 70%.
I can believe it. Yeah, definitely.
One of the things that I've been really interested in recently, because astrologically we're moving into a 1.5 year period where we're looking at our self-identity as a human species, and one of the things I've been interested in is that sense of I am. So, for example, as soon as you're born, you're told what sex you are.
Yeah.
And that's it. I am a girl, or I am a boy. And of course, that is being so challenged at the moment. There's so many people saying, no, I don't want to be labeled as that.
Labeled in any way, not even that. I know. Something so, fundamental. Yeah, exactly.
And then we're given our name. I am, and that's it. We're stuck with that.
Yeah.
And then a whole long list of, you're a good girl, or you're a bad girl, or you're a clever boy, or you're a naughty boy. Do you know what I mean? It's like this endless list of what you are.
You are. This is it. Yeah. So the world around you cultivates that belief from day dot. Absolutely.
Yeah. And so we grow up going, well, I am.
Exactly.
But actually, there's just stuff we've been told.
It's just stuff that you've been told. And then when you look at it from a critical lens as a grown-up, it's like, what were those sources? That is scary, where all that is coming from, because a lot maybe not have your best interest at heart. There could be all sorts of issues
Or
there,
they would
you know.
damage
Oh,
themselves.
they would damage it. Almost always they would damage themselves, and they themselves don't have the tools. I know. And this
Yeah.
is
So,
awareness.
so it's a universal state
Yes.
that everybody self-sabotages, but the vast majority of people, it won't be anything too drastic.
Right. This is the difference. This is what we try to get at. It's about making it manageable. So it's not having devastating consequences. And certainly that awakening will come. Like what you just described, you know, you wake up one day and you think, everyone's told me all that. Why did I believe that? And then you don't believe it, and you find your own way, and you build up new, healthier belief systems about yourself. But if the sabotage is so intense, it cannot even bring you there at all. It won't allow you, because you want to give yourself the permission, because you think you're not allowed to have
And
that.
also it becomes so real.
And it becomes so real. Yeah,
So real.
Yeah, it's too embodied in you. It's too ingrained. You
Yes.
can't break away from it. So that's the only place where it's good to
And
have.
do you think that for people where it is so real,
Yeah,
that if they can get themselves into that daily routine of meditating, that
yeah,
they can actually find a way out of that to the point where they can just look at it and go, I don't want to think this stuff.
yeah,
I want to be in control of my mind, not it in control of me.
yeah, absolutely, I do. Yeah, yeah. So I mean, the only other thing that would probably precede that as a cautionary step is that they wouldn't even seek out to help, or seek out to practice, or join, say, a meditation class, or even try. I suppose that's the only thing. But then there are so many great tools out there. Like, this is where art therapy and craftism would come in, because it's definitely got its place, because that's sort of an easy access way to exploring the mind, building the self-esteem, building their communication skills, expression, giving them a place of value and worth. And then you can start to get them opening up. And then maybe positive affirmations, which we've used in a lot of craft groups. I myself have worked myself with groups like that, which is why I know the value of it. And that's how you can open up that dialogue with them and open them up to a practice of routine meditation. Yeah.
Fabulous, fabulous. I love that. Because one of the things that, I'm aware of is that people seem to think that I am my mind,
Yeah.
I am my emotions, I am my physical body.
Yeah.
We're
Yeah.
not.
No, we're
We're
not.
something
No, we are not.
else.
We are something else. We're so much more than that. It's like we're confined to this bit, this part of us. It's one fragment of it, and we're confined so we can have the experience through that very, very unique lens, which is, you'll be hard pressed to find a replica of anywhere. Yeah, which is a cool thing. That's what it really is, but we don't see it that way. It feels so real. Attacks feel so real. They feel so personal. It
Mm.
feels so
So
devastating. Yeah.
when someone can get that sense of control
Yeah, yeah,
over their mind, they're like, oh God, I'm running the mind chatter again. Okay, come back into the present. Okay. What do you think we are capable of?
that's a million billion dollar question. Yeah. Right. So this is the goal of this interview, wasn't it? To really delve deep into this conversation, right? So the first thing is, number one, that anxiety has gone. Because by the practice of deep relaxation is not just the groundedness, but you will allow yourself to now breathe very deeply, which in itself is so harmonious to the soul, the physical body. And doing that will stop the anxiety for a start. So you're not restricted. And then your muscles start to work, including cognitive function. So you start to think, you come up with ideas, right?
Mm.
You come up with problem solving techniques, memory recall. Oh, I know this glue with this color combination create, all of these ideas now come into play. Imagination, you can envision something, visualize something, all of this now starts to free fall and free flow. And that's what you are allowing when you are so mindful and centered now. So if that's combined with an activity like, you say, a craft or art therapy, a therapeutic activity, obviously you will do wonders on what is in front of you, because you're allowing yourself to express. That's the first thing. But to do it in silent meditation or in a space where you're just doing that purely for silence or to find yourself within, so much scope there for where it can take you. Obviously, we've spoken about visualization. You can start to then produce a thought form where you imagine something and you can draw that into your life. Some people call it manifestation or the law of attraction. That's a big, like, known game right now. You know what people are experimenting with. But then it's things like intuition. So you have like this internal compass or navigational system, and that is tuned into, and it'll tell you exactly what you need to do in the fastest way possible. That's good for you, that works for you, that makes you feel that intuition. You can have really good like out of body or lucid dreaming kind of experiences. Some people are into that, you know, so you can have experiences.
Yeah.
So there's like so much, but yeah, beyond that we've covered the main three: manifestation,
Yeah. So
creativity, and intuition. Yeah.
because I was doing I did a presentation the other day which was sort of quite akin to this.
Okay.
Because I'm really into people helping people how to what I call raise their vibration.
Yeah, brilliant.
And so I was explaining about how the mind, there's two bits. You've got your conscious and the unconscious. The conscious is only 10%.
Right.
The unconscious is 90%. And in general, that's the one that rules.
Yeah.
And that with our conscious mind, if we are using it to think about something, then it can't do anything else.
That's the other important point. Yeah, thank you for reminding me of that. Yeah, that was, it was back of my mind. I was going to mention it. I knew there was something else. That's it. Yeah, it's zapping your energy, Deborah. That's what mind chatter does, which is why I'm so passionate about stopping it. Because when that's running on automatic pilot, all your energy is being used up for that function only. And then we have like our nervous system that's going wild because things are happening, because you think you've got something important to worry about, or you're now worried because something awful happened which is going to keep having a impact in today's world. You think you are in danger, your body acts like it's in danger. It will release all sorts of like hormones which will cause inflammation, imbalances, create havoc within the body. So all that's going on, and it's using up finite precious prana, chi, clean energy source just to keep that running, because it's on. It's like a tap that's been switched on and now you can't switch it off. There's so much obviously going in that, but if you stop it now, you've got that water source, you've got all that source that you can use for creativity, brain function, which is why your cognitive function will elevate.
I love repeating the quote that Einstein said. He said he never got anything new from his thinking mind. Everything he accessed from his imaginal realm.
Right.
But like you said earlier, we can't go to our imaginal realm if our mind is constantly thinking.
Yeah. That's amazing. Yeah, I've never heard that quote. I'm surprised I've not heard it, but now that I have, I will remember it. So that's good. Yeah, absolutely. This is the thing. Everything that you need is there. I mean, some people say it's like a realm, it's outside of you, but then there's a belief that's inside of you as well. So it's being silent within, as obviously like the Buddhists would believe, or it's a higher energy you connect with, and it's okay, one and the same. But yeah, it's that place which connects to the subconscious mind. Yeah, absolutely.
Fabulous.
That should be ruling, and that's the one that you access in silence.
Yes. And I'm interested that you came in through Zumba, because I'm a dancer. That's my absolute favorite thing to do, is to dance.
Absolutely.
And just freestyle dancing. And for me, that's another way when I'm not thinking.
It is.
And I'm just listening to the music.
Yeah. And this ties in really well with like the mind body healing. So, when I said about the inflammation and all that, the energy is like trapped, the emotions are trapped. Movement, obviously, like we know about yoga and walking, mindfulness, but dancing, anything practical, even like craftivism, all that, the motion of doing that is releasing those emotions. So dancing, it does connect you to that subconscious as well, which is why people you know, when you see them in that zone, when they are dancing, yeah, you can just tell, isn't it? They are legends.
Yeah. And of
Yeah.
course, as human beings, we would have been dancing before we were probably
I
even
know.
speaking.
No, yeah, yeah. It was an instinctive thing. This is why what you were saying about Einstein's quote, don't think logically, let things come to you, because even without thinking, you will be guided. Movement is one thing, yeah. That's so cool.
So is there anything else that you feel like you would like to add to what you've said already?
So probably the only thing I would pick up on is when we were saying about you know, the techniques to stop the mind chatter. And one of the things that we said was you can never really stop your thoughts. You know, it doesn't matter what we're doing, your thoughts will linger onto something. So another like really helpful way we can stop the mind chatter in our waking life, obviously having a regular practice will remind you to breathe and have that connection that we spoke about, but is to use it constructively. So this is something I do quite a lot, is to instill a habit where you are listening to constructive content then. So you can have like a podcast playing on, you can have listen to music, or you can have like conscious conversations and dialogues, you know, like what we are doing. Because these things, even though the mind is not still, it's helpful conversations. You know, they're cooperative, they're supportive, they're self-soothing in nature. So at least you're not back to that old pattern that does not serve you.
And I mean, you know, for me, parallel to that is I do not listen to any news anymore.
No, I don't. I don't anymore. No, no.
But that really brings us down.
Yeah. The news is awful. There is you could call it conspiracy or some thought around the idea there's a manipulation going on. I mean, there's all sorts of things. So again, not to dwell into that too much, but it's good to have the awareness that, and people who have control of the mind, of over your mind, have a control over you. So be super careful of your energy and what you allow into the peripheral, visually, auditory, and in space. Yeah.
Is such a good point. So if people would like to reach out to you, Angie, how should they do that?
Okay, so you can find me on Twitter or on Instagram and Facebook under Meditation Minded. You can find me, or you can email me. It's Angie@meditationminded.com. Or you can find me as Angie Devi under LinkedIn if you like yourself, you're on LinkedIn. But yeah, find me. It's Angie, Angie. This is, as you can see, and the reason it's spelled like that is because it was easier to find. That's literally the only reason. That's not my original name. You may have guessed it's Anji. But now, you know, it's just easier to find and to differentiate between the government job I had as well. So I was trying to, you know, set myself up in a unique way. So yeah, find me under Angie Devi or Meditation Minded, and yeah, we've got lots of amazing programs coming.
That's been really fabulous. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Been lovely to meet you, and
Yourself,
really,
yeah.
really helpful conversation. I'm sure a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this.
Oh, thank you so much, Deborah. I'm really honored. Thank you so much for the invitation.